Hello, everyone, and welcome to this second Sunday of Lent edition of Behind the Pulpit. You notice that we're looking at some pictures of a fox and some hens, and certainly plays into our sermon lesson, our scripture lesson for this Sunday. But we're going to actually open with Psalm 27 as our call to worship. It's a beautiful psalm, and towards the end it has this to say. It says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong, and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord." I think so often we feel in our culture that we have to do something, that if someone who waits and waits upon the Lord is somehow weak or not decisive. In fact, you see this a lot in our political fights, that we need people of action and people to make decisions right away. And sometimes we let this fear enter into our churches when we try to make decisions that we need to make it today. And we need to hurry. But I remind you that in 1 Samuel, King Saul actually gets in trouble for this. Here is a king and a war leader. He's told to wait on the Lord. And then all of his followers and his soldiers are saying, this is no way for a war leader to lead. We need the decision today. We can't wait around for prayer and for Samuel to tell us what's going on with God. And so Saul makes a decision, and a hasty one, and it actually it continues with his downfall as king. And so a lot of times we think it's courageous to take action now, but what we learn in the psalm is that God has a different value system in place, that we are to wait for him, and that's where we actually get our strength and courage. And so we open up with our first hymn, God of Grace and God of Glory, just holding up the reminder that God is everything in our lives, and that's what we need to wait on. For a responsive reading, we're looking at God's commandments, which is a meditation on the top 10, as I like to say, plus the 2 that Jesus teaches us in the gospel. And our hymn of confession is Teach Me Thy Way. So the reason why those tie in together with Psalm 27 and then moving into this is that a reminder that with all this talk about values and what values we're supposed to have and that sort of thing, that we are to follow a different way, that God has given us a different way of being in the world and a different value system in line with his kingdom, not with the kingdoms of this world. And so Teach Me Thy Way is really a hymn saying, I'm going to recommit myself, Lord God, to your teaching. Which leads us to our gospel lesson. It's a short one. It's from the Gospel of Luke 13, 31 through 35. And the sermon title is Fox in a Hen House, so perhaps you're starting to pick up why we're looking at fox and hens and that sort of thing. This section is known as the Lament of Jerusalem, and most of us know of it with when Jesus is crying over Jerusalem, and he says, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, and he talks about how he wishes he were a hen, that gathers up her chicks. But what's interesting is that he actually references Herod, and we'll talk a lot about this in the sermon, that the Pharisees warn him that Herod wants him dead, and Jesus calls him that old fox, and then talks about chicks who have no home, and how he wants to be a mother hen that gathers up her chicks, but the chicks refuse her, and so he cannot protect Jerusalem until they say, blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord. And what a good friend of mine, a good pastor friend, pointed out to me is that stance of arms wide open or wings to gather in indicates a being that is completely okay with giving up their life for those of the chicks. And so that's the pose that Jesus takes on. So first he stands up to that fox, and we know what happens when a fox gets into a chicken coop. But that Jesus is the one willing to gather those chicks and to protect them as a mother hen, if only they would accept his gathering. And it points to, and it's a lovely thing to think about, is just how deep Jesus' love is for all of us, to lay down his life for us. And so our closing hymn will be the deep, deep love of Jesus. Again, this hymn of his love, of how he wishes to gather us in and protect us from that old fox. Well, thank you everyone for this special edition of Behind the Pulpit, and I look forward to seeing you this Sunday. God bless.